Chapter 7. As the day went on, nobody was even close to tracking down where the Eds were. Rolf was close behind them. If he was paying attention, Rolf would have seen Wilfred take off through the fields. Johnny and Plank waited for the bus to come. He wasn't looking forward to the vehicle, but he had to get his revenge. Naz wanted to fix the broken wheel on Kevin's bike, since they only rode 3 miles from the spot they crashed into. She didn't know if Kevin would even let her lay a hand on the bike. The Eds, however, were in a field of tall sunflowers which towered over them. Through his unique inventing skills, Ed created a device that would help locate the gag factory. Ed and Eddy ran into each other, but laughed it off. Eddy hit Ed in the face with a sunflower, which made him look like a lion. The two made a scene and ran around pretending to be chased by the mighty Agamushin. Ed chuckled. They never had fun like this before. He knew he became a bore last summer, but he had to. He grew up too fast to show his parents how mature he could be. They noticed, but disproved his friends. They said he would be more respected by the other kids, which he already was. He just wished that things could go back to the beginning of last summer. "What's that stupid thing?" Eddy asked, taking Ed's invention. "Can you see cartoons in it?" Ed and Eddy played around with the device, much to Ed's worry. Eddy swiped it near Ed's head. He joked that his head was missing, and startled Eddy by having his hand come out and grab Eddy through the opening of his neck hole. Ed grabbed the device when his friends began roughhousing even more. "Yes, well, it's fun and games, but merrymaking nearly cost us this sextant." Ed and Eddy went silent. What? I missed that. What's it called?" Eddy asked. "It's called a sextant, an astronomical instrument used to—" Ed and Eddy started to giggle. "Again, sorry, I missed it. What's it called?" Ed smiled. They actually wanted to learn. "It's commonly known as a sextant, Eddy." They burst into laughter. Ed thought for a few seconds and slammed a hand against his mouth once he realized the reason behind the laughter. "Oh my!" The two just kept on laughing. Oh, they were so immature. "You wouldn't be laughing when this unnamed device triangulates our position and gives us a precise heading to the true direction of the gag factory." "Wanna bet?" Eddy asked, looking ahead of where Ed was going to walk into. "But in order for me to calculate our bearings for the gag factory, I'll need—" Ed smacked into a brick wall of a building. "Land ho!" Ed shouted. "This is it!" Eddy exclaimed, seeing the old Lemon Brook gag factory. He couldn't believe they're actually here. "Hey, big bro! It's me, Eddy!" he began shouting as his words bounced off the building. "Perhaps the front doors will yield a response," Ed pointed out. "Great idea! I forgot. My big bro hates back doors," Eddy said, running towards the front of the factory. "Me too! We are so alike!" Ed exclaimed. "Yeah, right," Eddy said, screeching along the ground to turn the corner. Ed couldn't remember what his brother did to him. Of course, there were almost 3 at this time, but Eddy still remembered as if it were yesterday. His brother hit him dead in the head when a rock scam went awry. Nobody cared to get his skull looked more closely. Eddy would never forget Ed's cries. Nobody ever explained to Ed why he was different. Eddy felt like he needed to say something to Ed, but remembered what his brother said. A little childhood trauma builds character. He was right. Was he? The next thing Eddy found himself doing was using Ed as a battering ram to get inside the factory. There was so much going on that he didn't know what he was doing as he beat down the doors on poor Ed. "Where is he? Did you see him?" The factory was dark as the only light there came through the windows. All the machines looked as if they'd been down for years. Cobwebs were everywhere, not a soul in sight. They all looked around, running into boxes or tripping into the walls. Bro! It's me! Eddy! Eddy sighed and took a deep breath. You know, pipsqueak, he said, ever so lightly so his friends wouldn't hear him. There was nobody here. Where is everybody? Are you sure this is the gag factory? 'Cause I ain't laughing. Looks sketchy to me, Eddy, Ed said, rummaging through a bunch of gag toys. Ed, comic book, please, Ed asked. He skipped to the beginning of the book. Exactly. This publication was printed out over 10 years ago. Eddy felt steam boiling within his body. He threw the comic across the room and fell to the floor. He just wanted everything to go back to the day his brother left. But instead of his parents ordering him out, he stayed. Then none of this would be happening. Where Hoop? We'll never find my brother, Double D. Never say never, Eddy. Perhaps old customer receipts or employee records will unearth a clue to his whereabouts, Ed said, staring at the stairway. Choo-choo! Ed shoved a giant box into Eddy. It was filled with all kinds of strange gags. Oh, look! Box is stuffed with stuff! Not again, Ed! We'll never make headway if you keep rummaging for... Ed was hit in the face with a rubber chicken. Tickets, Double D! Oh, I love him to death, I do! Can't have a party without a rubber chicken, Double D. Big Bro said so. Ed rolled his eyes. If he was the only one who was going to be serious, then it was up to him. I'll go examine the factory's filling cabinets and see what I can find. What else do you got in there, Lummox? Eddy asked, having Ed's words escape him. The two friends scorched through the piles of pranks. They hadn't done this in so long. Eddy had been too piled up in this scam world that he almost forgot about being a kid. He turned 13 a month ago, but still, he wanted to be a kid again. They weren't going back to the cul-de-sac any time soon. All the more to catch up on the years he threw away. Ed let out such a huge groan when he came out from the little office with no luck. Have you two forgotten why we're here? He looked over the railing. They were gone. Eddy? Ed! Hello! The factory was filled with laughter just a few seconds ago. Oh, for Pete's sake! If this is some kind of foolish joke you're playing, it's not funny, Ed said as he walked throughout the dark factory. The place is becoming eerie, bigger than he thought. It was quiet, so quiet that the silence was enough to make one go mad. Ed heard a noise. Oh, it was just his heart. Did it suddenly become dark all of a sudden? Or was this how it always was? Eddy? Ed? Ed called out once more. A piece of machinery rolled out and clattered to the floor up ahead. Ed slowly walked up to the gap of the machines. Is anyone there? A figure emerged from the shadows. It was Eddy, but with a meat cleaver sticking out from his head. Run, Double D! Save yourself! He yelled before collapsing to the floor. Eddy! Ed screamed, backing away. This can't be! Ed backed into something. If looks could kill, I'd be dead, Ed said in such a grave manner. Was that a fork sticking through his head? Ed screamed. There was a murderer in this factory. How could he not have taken safer precautions? Suddenly, Ed and Eddy started laughing. They both got up and waved their fingers in his face. It's a gag, see? Eddy laughed, moving the plastic cleaver. Would you fall off the back of a truck? Help me! Help me! I'm Double D! They were taunting him. Ed stared into space, having an angry synth inside him. The nerve of them, trying to fool him into thinking they were dead. The laughing. It was just like they were laughing at him. And then he was laughing back at them while... No, that memory. Oh, we're sorry, Double D. Jelly bean? Ed asked, handing him a can. Ed mellowed down a bit. Why, thank you, Ed. These should provide quite comforting, and I am a bit peckish. Little did Ed know that it was just another prank. The can exploded, with thousands of stuffed snakes shooting him out of the factory. A snake landed in someone's hand. Whoa! What's that? Naz asked, acting ridiculously frightened. Kevin looked at the old factory in front of him.